to the Catholic Citizen. I've missed you, but it's so fantastic to be back to talk about the most important issues of this day, about engaging in politics. It's going to be fantastic. It's all unscripted, and I'm always scripted, so I can't wait to talk to you this time. Again, welcome back to the Catholic Citizen. Hey folks, just taping some videos for the church. We want to educate fellow Catholics, fellow Christians on the dignity of the human person. That's a prime principle of all Catholic social teaching. It's the basis for everything we do. It's Genesis 1:27, that we're made in God's image and likeness. As St. Gregory of Nyssa said in the 4th century, that God didn't make the heavens in his image, nor the moon, the sun, the stars, the beauty which you can see. You alone are made in that nature which surpasses understanding. Here's the kicker. St. Gregory said that nothing in all of creation can equal your grandeur. That means every preborn child is made in God's image and likeness and has a power and a dignity beyond what we can ask or imagine. That means every immigrant. It means every person we disagree with on these issues. It means those we vehemently disagree with, that we can't forget they're made in God's image and likeness. They deserve our love, our respect. So the Catholic Citizen here, we try to help form you in a way to form your conscience to know how to vote. But we're also going to talk about prudential issues versus issues that are non-negotiable. So you have prudential issues, like let's look at immigration, for example. I mean, there's 3 principles to bear on this issue. One is the dignity of the human person. So the dignity of the folks we disagree with on this issue, the dignity of every immigrant that comes across the border, whether they come across legally or illegally. We want them to come across legally, of course, but we can't forget that individuals still have dignity no matter what. But secondly, we also realize that, every nation has a right to kind of control its own borders. It ceases to be a nation if you can't control your own borders. So that principle must bring to bear on this particular issue as well. But we'll take a look at the issues of family, of transgender issues. We'll take the issue of life, where there is no prudential allowance for somebody to be pro-life or pro-choice. If you're a Catholic, you're called to be pro-life because you believe that every single child is made in God's image and likeness. So you can't have a prudential difference on that particular issue. It's foundational. It remains, as the bishops have said, the preeminent issue of life. And so when we go to the ballot box and we look at all these different issues, whether they be assisted suicide, or it's capital punishment, or it's life, or it's marriage, they're not just all one issue among many. The life issue is the preeminent issue because we can't advocate for individuals to have a right to immigrate or the right to access good education or housing or healthcare if they simply don't have the right to live. So I get it. Many of us are like, I can't vote for this person because I don't like their personality, or I don't like what they tweet, or I don't like that they laugh a particular way. Look, guys, we're not voting for personalities. Certainly an individual's character matters. I'm never going to skirt around that. An individual's character matters. But what matters even more is the policies upon which these individuals are running. Because when we examine the party platforms on all these fundamental issues, including the issue of life, the stark difference we have, it's pretty darn clear. So we'll examine the party platforms as well in the Catholic Citizen in the weeks to come because it's just so very important. But on this first welcome back, if you will, to the Catholic Citizen, I just want to highlight a few different things for you. And it was actually sent out an email. I want to give credit where credit is due. But I wasn't ready to do this show until next week. But Nick's like, we just got to go. We just got to go because this election is too important. And I concretely agree. I mean, with everything going on in this nation, it's so important that we are engaged. So yes, we recognize that we're citizens of heaven, that the gospel goes beyond politics. But we have to realize politics is an opportunity, though. It's a pathway by which we can share the gospel. We can share the dignity of the human person. So when we're talking about the preciousness and the dignity of the preborn child in danger of abortion, we're also relating that to the reality that the person we're speaking to right before us is also precious, has dignity, has value, has worth. And so we're emphasizing that in our conversations to draw people to the reality to their deepest identity is found in Jesus Christ. Their deepest identity isn't a political party, which a lot of people who have pushed God to the horizons, they're finding their identity in these kind of tribal politics. They're saying, well, I'm going to believe everything that the Democratic Party believes, for example, because they've lost their identity in Christ. And so we need to draw people back home, that we have a common Father, as Pope Francis says, that we have this idea of solidarity, that we're all in this together. I think it was G.K. Chesterton once said that, we're all in the same boat and we're all seasick. So we're all in this fight together. But we don't forget, we don't lose sight of the fact that the church has given us a rich tradition by which we are called to form our conscience. And that tradition is founded in Catholic social teaching, whose prime principle is the dignity of the human person, Genesis 1:27. So we'll return to that over and over again because we see so much chaos in this world today. We see so much wreckage, so much death, so much of the culture of death advancing because we've forgotten some foundational things that even this country was founded upon. And that includes the foundational issue, the right to life, the fundamental issue upon which all other rights are founded, the right to simply live. It's written right in the Declaration of Independence, our founding document as a nation, that we, the people, have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But remember what's first, the right to life.
So speaking, Peter, of
he's coming
beautiful people.
This is my show.
And, I'm the one with the buttons. Speaking of beautiful people and dialoguing with them and their dignity, I want to invite anybody watching to get involved in the dialogue of this live stream. So if you have any questions or comments, be a part of today's broadcast. That's all I wanted to say. That's it. Nick out.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. We do welcome your thoughts, your comments. You're welcome to disagree. Look, this is a safe space. You can come and you can disagree. We're not going to hate on you. We will share what we believe is the truth and love not what we believe. We will share the truth with you concerning what is the Catholic perspective on these things. But look, let's look at the reality of Vice President Kamala Harris just for a moment when it comes to Catholic issues. Did you know that when she was a senator, you can go right to the Catholic News Agency, they have a long article on this, that when she was a senator, she pressed 3 judicial nominees about their affiliations with the Knights of Columbus as a reason by which they were not qualified to become in those positions in the administration. Because why? Because they are part of a Catholic organization called the Knights of Columbus. In the written questions that she sent to them, for example, to one individual, Harris asked the nominee whether he knew that the Knights of Columbus opposed a woman's right to choose when he joined the organization. Okay. So that's a pretty Catholic position. The Knights of Columbus, pretty mainstream organization by which individuals are a part of. And then Senator Harris thought that that was a disqualifying factor for this person to be a part of the administration when she first became a senator. So that initially shows you an anti-Catholic bias that Vice President Harris has. But when you look at just what's happening at our southern border right now, and look, neither party completely fits into Catholic social teaching when it comes, if you just read their party platforms. The Republican Party obviously emphasizing kind of the security that a sovereign nation has a right to secure its borders. That's Catholic social teaching. The Democratic Party emphasizing that as a wealthier nation, we have an obligation to help those necessarily in need. But you look at the chaos right now that we have at the southern border. We have 10 million people in the country. We have no idea kind of where they're coming from. That's an issue. That's a challenge. We see that issue and challenge coming up in cities right here in Ohio, in Springfield, where some of these communities don't have the resources even to help these individuals anymore. But I want to focus on one really important part of immigration that is often, actually, it's never even talked about, and that's the unaccompanied minors. We have at least 130,000 unaccompanied minors. These are kids coming across with nobody, that we have no idea where they're at in the country. Some estimates put it as large as 500,000 minors. We're talking about sexual trafficking, folks. So when you're talking about not protecting our border, yes, we're called to care for immigrants as a Catholic Church, and we do a tremendous job of that. But when we don't have a border, you have kids that are being abused across this country because we have no idea even where they're at.
Peter, could I just butt in here for a second?
Go ahead.
You just used a phrase that I hear tossed around a lot. If we don't have a border, we don't have a nation.
Yeah.
Define what is a nation.
Oh my gosh.
What does it mean for us to say that if we don't have a border, we don't have a nation? Like, what are we getting at here?
A nation is a sovereign institution which involves citizens who make up the laws, and part of those laws include securing the borders by which, the geographical borders by which that nation exists. So for the United States of America, you have our national border with Mexico. You have the national borders that you have on either coastline. And then you have our northern border with Canada. So if you don't have a border, you don't have a nation at the end of the day, because there's nothing to differentiate your country and the laws in that country with the countries that border you. So I don't know if that helps, Nick. That's a tough question on the spot.
I know. So just to really dumb it down for someone like myself, a total, I'm totally uneducated on these realities here, or at least I'm standing in for those who might be. If you don't have walls, you don't have a house, right?
That's well said. Yeah.
So if I don't have a house and my family and I are on grass, if someone were to walk up to us, they are not breaking into a house because there's no house. They're just walking up to us, right? So if we have people that are just walking across this abstraction that once was a border, we don't have a nation.
I think that's well said. I mean, I think that's one of the arguments as well for why you lock the doors at your house at night. It's not because you want to be mean to anybody, but you want to protect your family. And so too, when it comes to having a border or protecting the borders, whether or not it's a physical border wall or whether it's more agents, whatever it might be, you're just simply protecting your citizens, and that is the right and the duty of every single nation, and that is to protect your citizens. And when you fail to do that, you fail to be a nation, a sovereign nation, which is doing its fundamental role, and that's to protect people. So I want to wrap up just because I've got to go. I've got a family to attend to on two more things that have been bothering me, and I think the Catholic Vote have pointed out. And that is, secondly, or second to last, I should say, the weaponization of Title IX to manipulate school country in this children in this nation. So the Biden administration, the Biden-Harris administration, has gone full bore into this thought that boys can be girls and girls can be boys. And if you go to what they have said, they're okay with educational programs just allowing any kids to transition in schools, allowing them to access restrooms, locker rooms, showers that are not consistent with their gender. So you can be a boy and you can access those things, the girls' locker room, the girls' restrooms, under the Biden-Harris administration. That's what they've done with Title IX. They have said that dress codes may not be applied against trans students in a discriminatory manner. They have said that they should be allowed to participate in the sports that don't align with their gender as well. So you have boys participating in girls' sports. Again, this goes directly against Catholic social teaching, directly against the scripture. Genesis 1:27, again, it says we're made male and female, he created them. So when you're looking at, again, approaching these issues from a Catholic perspective, and then what the parties say, very clear that the Biden-Harris administration not lining up with Catholic social teaching. And then lastly, when we're talking about the preeminent threat that the bishops have called us to appreciate, and that's the issue of life, the issue of abortion. And again, we always approach this issue with mercy and compassion and respect, understanding that some may be watching today that have walked through an abortion experience. And we believe that abortion is wrong. It's a sin, but there is no sin so deep that God's mercy is not deeper still. So we're not coming at this issue with condemnation or the sense that we're here to yell at people, but we are here to yell and proclaim the dignity of the human person. and a nation that kills its children will not have a future. And we have killed 63 million, lowest estimates in this country since 1973 when Roe v. Wade was first put in place. Now, praise God, that has been expunged. It's been sent to the ash heaps of history. But the reality is the Biden administration has advocated, the Biden-Harris administration has advocated for abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy in this country. And Tim Walz, who's been put on the ticket as vice presidential nominee, actually signed legislation in Minnesota that would not allow doctors, that would not ask doctors that if you had a child who survived a botched abortion attempt, that child could be left on the table to die. That's the vice presidential nominee for the Democratic ticket. So folks, let me just bring this home for us. The right to life is the foundational issue upon which all other rights are based. So we're going to go deeper into this in the Catholic Citizen for the days to come. But we have to appreciate that the life issue, when we're looking at these two parties, when we're looking at these two candidates or any other candidate or party, where do they stand on the issue of life? Because as Catholics, we are a people of life. And when we ignore that, we ignore fundamentally who we are. So the Catholic Citizen's back because so many of my fellow Catholics don't appreciate that this life issue is foundational to everything we do. The marriage issue is foundational to everything that we are. And these issues can be placed within a spectrum of non-negotiables and prudential judgments. And non-negotiable is our stance on life. So catch us next week as we dive into the week's news, politics. We dive into these issues in a more serious manner, more concrete manner, and we help you navigate and form your conscience so you're prepared to go out this November and vote for life.
And before you officially sign off, Peter, I just want to say, y'all, we see a bunch of people tuning in on the live stream from all over the different platforms. If this is something you want to see happen, help us right now, first and foremost, by simply liking the video, the live stream you're watching right now. Share a link to this live stream because the recording will stay up afterwards. Share a link to it with everyone you know. And because the work that Peter is doing to help educate and form us as Catholics in what is the Catholic Church's actual teaching on XYZ topic, and how can that inform our voting decisions and how we operate in this society. The work Peter is doing is super important. This show has been in the past and will continue to be super important. The Catholic Citizen is back. It has been gone for a long time. And to this day, I still hear the question from people, when is Awakened Catholic bringing back the Catholic Citizen? And that is a real thing that has happened to me over and over again over the years. I'm so pumped, Peter, that we are back to doing this. And I couldn't be more thrilled that you have finally said yes after so many painful requests on my part. So thank you, Peter, for doing this. But please help the show, support the show by liking this live stream, sharing it. Make sure you're following this on YouTube, on Facebook, and hopefully by next week, there will be another place, a better place that this is being hosted. That is my goal, but more to come on that. Anyways, back to you, Peter.
Well, Nick, let me just finish here because Pope Francis is our Pope. And so we listen to his words when it comes to why we're called to engage in politics. A good Catholic engages in the public square because the public square is the place where we can pronounce the good, the true, and the beautiful. And yes, we don't legislate morality in the context of, you can't, well, as Martin Luther King Jr. who said in a letter to Birmingham jail, I believe, he said, look, I can't make you love me or respect me, but I can keep you, when it comes to engaging in the law, I can keep you from punching me in the face. And so that's why we engage, because we want the public society to be structured in such a way that upholds the dignity of the human person. So we as Catholics, as Pope Francis has said, let me read this, an authentic faith always involves a deep desire to change the world, to transmit values, to leave this earth somehow better than we found it. Thus, if indeed the just ordering of society and of the state is a central responsibility of politics, the Church cannot Let me repeat, cannot and must not remain on the sidelines in the fight for justice. We have to engage. We're standing in the face of the greatest historical confrontation humanity has gone through. And it goes well beyond this election because we are facing a country right now that is killing 1 million children every single year. We cannot allow it to continue to happen because a country does not have a future which kills its children. But that's what we're doing in this nation. That's why we're doing this show, because we want to save the preborn in danger of death. Please join us next week on The Catholic Citizen, where we explore more deeply how we proclaim the dignity of the human person, how we proclaim the gospel, that Jesus Christ came and died for each and every one of us, and he wants us to be fully alive. Do you want to be fully alive? Join us on The Catholic Citizen week in and week out, where we talk about faith, politics, love, and life. God bless everybody. We'll talk to you next week on The Catholic Citizen.